and it's freely available from the website of the Nomos Publishing House. So yeah, we would like to invite everyone to have a look at the book, download it if you want, and also share the information with others. And also, I would like to invite you to the Solid Talk series. We will have online talks every 2 weeks for the coming 3 months. So this is the session of autumn and winter 2025. And I would like to also announce that this meeting is recorded and will also be made available on our project website. And with this, I would like to hand over to Mariya. Thank you very much for being here today with us, and the floor is yours.
Mhm. Thank you so much. I would like to, for me, it's a big honor to be here. Thank you, Ula. Thank you, dear colleagues from the Solid Project. Today, I really would like to express my gratitude not only for colleagues from the Solid Project, but my local colleague, Nadezhda Cherchenko, who were pleased to support our initiatives with this webinar today and agreed to be our discussant. And please, dear colleagues, could you mute your, dear Asel, could you mute your cell phone? Because it's distracting sometimes. Dear Ula, could you please, okay, great. And Nadezhda works at Republican Scientific and Practical Center at the central office in Almaty, and she is really professional, and she curates various projects in methadone project therapy and OST programs, and it's a big honor for me that she today, as a ISAP, also International Society for Addiction Professionals, today support our webinars. Could you please, Nadezhda, introduce me shortly? Then I will start.
Thank you, Mariya. For me, it's also honor to be here. Right now, 32 participants. Congratulations. I think a very good number of participants which have interest in this, your amazing book. And also, I would like to mention that Mariya's book uploaded on special ISAP knowledge share webpage. So if you're interested I encourage you to join ISAP, International Society of Substance Use Professionals, to receive very useful, important information on treatment, recovery,
Might be a
You're
problem.
waiting for Nadezhda to come back, right?
Yes. Might be a problem with Nadezhda's internet. Okay. So,
hello.
yes. Okay. Yes. You're here.
My apologies. I think I
Yes.
I said so many words, but I have connection problems. So where I stop?
About inviting to society.
Society. Okay, so in ISAP website, there are a lot of useful information. So please join this society and take any interesting information. So Mariya, I think it's time to start your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you again. I'm very proud to be here as a part of this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadezhda. So let's start with my presentation about my experience with this book. Um, just a minute. Okay, now, let's talk about, today talk will be about my experience with writing this book, and not only my personal writing process, but mostly about the process of scientific research collaboration, writing collaboration, sharing ideas, supporting my team of people who think something, who would like to express themselves in research area, difficult and really challenging research area like new psychoactive substances. So today we will speak out about studies from Central Asia and China. Of course, the base for this project and um, the spirit of this book was our solid project. Now it's a phase number one, the first phase. And here you could see our team. That was, I suppose, Munich conference and eight big congress, World International Congress, where we have our own platform for sharing our ideas and expressing our intention in promoting social work and social care. And here you could see our like logo in Central Asia and China, where new threats emerge among all struggles. We build a bridge of science and social care. So here is about potential conflicts. There are no conflicts of interest are present in relation to any affiliation, any or financial, professional, personal affiliations that may affect the objectivity of this presentation. So first of all, let me start with the context of this book. You could see, and might be who is from Kazakhstan, from Central Asia, or regularly heard about here and have heard about the problem of new psychoactive substances. And it could be coined different various term. It could be known by different terms like synthetica. It's like designer drugs, or it can be stimulants, stimulatory in Russian, soli, salts, basalts, spices, various terms, street names, and of course it's on agenda in social media. We could see how our governmental bodies and non-governmental organizations discuss this problem and trying to find their own solution, trying to find predators and victims in this issue. We could see rapid spread of NPS in Central Asia, both in China. Our countries experience a surge in the production, distribution, consumption of NPS, complicating control and mitigation efforts. Second one, we could see regional vulnerability. Central Asia's strategic location as part of the northern route makes it key corridor for trafficking drugs from Afghanistan to Russia and Europe. And that was status quo for ages. But now we could see a shift from traditional to synthetic drugs. There is a shift from opioids and cannabis to synthetic analogs, posing new challenges for treatment, for prevention approaches. And we could see the rise of the role of the internet. We could see easy access to NPS through online shops that facilitates the spread of synthetic cathinones, cannabinoids across the population. At the same time, as a response, we could observe, witness a gap in legal framework. So the emergence of NPS outpaces current legal mechanism and require flexible and rapid regulatory measures and international collaboration. And as a doctor, I could see public health risk that deepen, and NPS have unpredictable and severe health effects, raising major concerns and necessitating comprehensive responses as well, like in legal law enforcement policies. We need cross-border cooperation, and we discussed it on the level of international platforms, like not only solid but also more acknowledged, like UNODC, EUDA now, yes, it's a formal MCDDA. So combating NPS requires international coordination, information sharing, an early warning system to protect public health. But at the same time, what the context, one of the most critical point of the NPS context is a lack of reliable, reasonable data with good, with good quality researches, studies, research initiatives. Of course, we have only poor data, limited data on NPS in the region. For example, the first UNIDC report was published about synthetic drugs in Central Asia, was published only in 2016 or 2017, something like that. And here you could see figures with numerous NPS groups like tryptamines, piperazines, ketamine, aminoindan, not only synthetic catenones and synthetic cannabinoids. All of these drugs formulas were detected by law enforcement laboratories, law enforcement researchers all around the Central Asia region. And we could see that in this ranking, Kazakhstan takes or has been taking for decades, over decades, the first place in detection, in all of different kinds of challenges posed by this NPS. And of course, today we have special platforms, UNIDC platforms, that make it more possible to comprehend, to understand basic information about NPS formulas. They have special, like, secured access for international expert, where you could see the list of formulas detected in our countries, in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and China. And you could see there that the number of formulas are really various. It's not only exclusively synthetic catenones and cannabinoids. And we need this for preparedness, to be aware, like for social work or for clinical practice, not only for law enforcement. Main argument of this book, what are these? First of all, we need unique regional focus, and we underline this. We try to make an accent on this. This book uniquely examines Central Asia and China regions at the crossroad of traditional drug trafficking routes and at the same time emerging NPS markets, providing insights that are not covered in existing global research. Second one, it's we trying to bring together scientific perspectives with social work, integrated, combine social work, public health, scientific research, academia, to offer a holistic understanding of NPS crisis, addressing both the human and systemic impact. Third one, we're highlighting emerging social challenges. We try to discuss how NPS contribute to new social issue, new social phenomenon, such as mental health crisis and economic strains. And all of this affect communities in ways distinct from traditional drugs. We need this call for new generation of intervention through advocating for innovative intervention models that respond to evolving nature of NPS. That includes technology-driven solution and community-based support system, classic support system. And emphasis on prevention and education. It's the main point for our book. We argue that prevention and public education are essential as law enforcement, with a focus on equipping communities and vulnerable population with knowledge and resources to combat NPS threats. Why this book is important, what's relevant to our real life, our clinical practice, social work experience. First of all, this book addresses a growing regional crisis. We acknowledge this, we articulate this, we express this loudly. The book is a timely resource for understanding the rapidly escalating NPS crisis in our region and in China, where traditional approaches to drug control are proving inadequate. We trying to fill a knowledge gap by providing critical insight into a region where data on NPS is limited. We're trying to fill a gap in both research and practical guidance for not only for policymaker and law enforcement, but also for professionals that support healthcare professionals, social work expert. Our book guides policy and practice. It offers actionable recommendations for shaping policy, law enforcement strategies, and healthcare responses that are both informed by local context and internationally aligned. Our books informs public health initiatives by finding support the development of more effective public health interventions aimed at reducing NPS-related harm, especially in vulnerable and undeserved populations, so-called socially disadvantaged populations. It promotes awareness and prevention, aims to increase this awareness of the danger of NPS within the general public, and it aims to enhance prevention efforts through educational outreach and community engagement. So, book consists of 3 sections. First of all, it's a country overviews that embrace detailed analysis of NPS trends, challenges, and responses in our countries. Section number 2, it focuses on high-risk group, including youth, LGBTQ plus communities, women, and incarcerated individuals with insight on the social and health impact. And section number 3, it's about demand reduction and harm reduction strategies. It explores prevention, treatment, harm reduction methods by emphasizing the need for innovative, adaptive approaches to NPS issues. So let's start with country overview. What we could see here, we could see common trends and some distinct exactly details that are experienced by our countries. In Kazakhstan, we have seen a tenfold increase in synthetic drug confiscations, seizures since 2019. We could see clandestine labs now produce NPS domestically using precursors from Russia and China. As a response, we experienced accelerated bans and harsher penalties that target NPS trafficking and production and treat all of these crimes packages of serious crimes. In China, NPS problems began to emerge in mainly as a ketamine, K powder, and metcathinone and other substances. The illegal production of K powder began around 2004 and gradually expanding, peaking in 2011 and 2015. But since 2016, the annual identification of synthetic catinones in China has shown a downward trend, and we took this. In response, our countries, our region, take this primary first place in illegal production. In Tajikistan, in unique situations they have, NPS use is rising in this country, particularly among youth and marginalized group, often linked to social economic challenges such as poverty, unemployment. So pattern of use indicate a shift from traditional substances to synthetic drugs, pharmaceutical drugs. It's a special situation in this country with the increasing availability and lower prices contributing to higher consumption rates among vulnerable population. In Uzbekistan, NPS, mainly synthetic cannabinoids and catechins, have surged with most offenses in Tashkent. The rise of online NPS distribution and local clandestine labs poses a growing regulatory challenge for law enforcement. In Kyrgyzstan, over 400 NPS variants, different formulas were identified by 2014, surpassing 800 by 2020. It's really a huge number, and it's great challenges for forensic laboratories, forensic expert. NPS mainly entered Kyrgyzstan from Russia, China, and Western Europe. Local synthesis began in 2019. Like Kazakhstan alike, they have alpha PVP, highly potent THC, various synthetic catechins. That's really became a challenge for not only for law enforcement but also for medical professional. Here you could see a comparison table where we try to analyze and compare, bring together our measures, like legal regulation, yes, everywhere in China and in Central Asia, we established that was the first measure in this series of different measures, like legal regulations. Unfortunately, epidemiological monitoring is our common problem, except China. They have national drug testing laboratory, and they try to be focused on the formulas that are seized and try to share this information. In Kazakhstan, it's fragmental. In Kyrgyzstan, in cooperation with NGOs. Uzbekistan is also only developing in the process. In Tajikistan, limited, but with international assistance. Of course, the gold standard in the measures is establishment of early warning system. But unfortunately, our countries, Central Asia countries, we are only dreaming about this. And we have fragments partially established early warning system, but in collaboration only with United States, not so strong on the local level. I mean, nationally or internationally across the Central Asia. Preventive program, unfortunately, most of all preventive program are focused on traditional drugs, and they are not so evidence-based, poor actually, and focused on media sphere. Sometimes include some lectures, education, might be awareness, but messages are not so tailored in the context of various preventive groups, social groups like family, like schools, community. What else? Addiction treatment. It's available with specialized services, not so sophisticated, not so detailed for our countries. Education on NPS for physicians, it's limited, and toxicologists only have a poor knowledge about intoxication, about harms, about risk, and it's really a field for development. Information for civil sector, yes, we have, but mostly it's limited and it's sporadic, it's not regular, and NGOs are not included in this sharing scope for early warning system. Clinical guidelines for NPS addiction. In Kazakhstan, we have clinical protocols. In Kyrgyzstan, my colleagues said me they have clinical guidelines for minors. In Uzbekistan, limited some guidelines for addiction in general. In Tajikistan, no specific guidelines. For China, some guidelines available, mostly for synthetic drugs. Harm reduction, it's really a critical point, and unfortunately, we have established only some of the key harm reduction initiatives, procedures, and not of all of this actual relevant harm reduction strategies are so important or so effective in the context of NPS challenges. So in Kazakhstan, no specific programs for NPS every up and now we have some initiatives, NGOs-based initiatives like online web outreach, and my colleague Alexey Lachov today will explain in more detail within the scope of his chapter about this procedure, about these initiatives. So Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, they have harm reduction initiatives, but they are not so sophisticated, not so productive, mostly limited, and not all of experts from NGO sector are aware and have good knowledge in this sphere. What's a prospect and recommendation? It's a big honor that all the expert authors, my co-authors, not only wrote, compiled information, made their desk reviews about policy making, about epidemiological situation, but also they try to analyze and to find their own main messages, main recommendation. They made key conclusions. For Kazakhstan, it's expand prevention program. We need to expand preventive program, by developing unified national strategy for prevention, focusing on youth and high-risk groups. Of course, we need to broaden harm reduction initiatives, include non-injection paraphernalia and harm reduction services, and promote online outreach. We need, as a researcher, of course, my main messages will be to improve data collection. Without data, it's hard to formulate, to articulate any evidence-based recommendations. So we need stable data collections procedure. In Uzbekistan, we need strengthen legislation and enforcement to improve legal frameworks and law enforcement coordination to curb NPS trafficking. We need to expand harm reduction service as well. We need to boost education and prevention. We need to enhance data collection and circulation between our countries, sharing. In China, what experts underline, it's a strengthening preventive system by using modern information technologies such as big data models to establish efficient NPS monitoring, early warning and evaluation system. We need to strengthen public awareness initiatives like through awareness campaign and integrate NPS education into school curricula to raise awareness of NPS risk. And of course, global cooperation. In Kyrgyzstan, we need to strengthen community involvement by engaging community-based services to support NPS, people who use NPS with lived experience, enhance research efforts, and update clinical protocols. In Tajikistan, we need to strengthen legal and enforcement effort by enhance frameworks and law enforcement to combat NPS crisis. Also, expand harm reduction services, boosting public awareness and foster collaboration. So, four main principles for all our countries is collaboration, research, epidemiology, harm reduction service, and civil society support. Primary, further, I would like to focus on three chapters that I suppose it's of utmost importance, not only for Kazakhstan, but also for all our country. First of all, it's prevention. Second one, vulnerable population, like prison population. And the third one is a special phenomenon. It's a phenomenon on chemsex. First of all, primary prevention. What can work against NPS? We need to be evidence-based. We need to tailor our recommendation in prevention, tailor to your culture, to their interest. We need unified national standards for primary, secondary, tertiary prevention. We need cross-sectional coordination between health education, law enforcement, and digital regulators. Of course, the basement for prevention is epidemiology, so we need targeted online monitoring to block, not only block drug acts, sales on social media, but also to retrieve information, valuable information about their behavior in online space. Youth engagement, we need peer education, psychological support, creative and sport programs, something that is more interesting rather than only lectures, dry information. Sustainable funding in research to scale effective initiatives and adapt to new drug trends. And of course, we need public awareness campaigns that inform, not intimidate, and strengthen resilience. Because today in Kazakhstan, it might be in your countries, you could see demonization of these groups of drugs, and as a response, it's stigmatization of this population, of these people who really seek for treatment and being in deep crisis. Youth and women, key vulnerabilities. This chapter we wrote with Valentina Mankieva. She is really an expert in the field, and she is one of the first activists that who works in the field, not only articulating messages, not only for people with life experience of NPS use, but also for women that suffer from this epidemic. So young people make up nearly 1/3 of Kazakhstan population. They are main target group for synthetic drug distribution. More and more young people are becoming involved in drug crimes, often as couriers, because criminal networks see them as less suspicious. And women are increasingly drawn into drug distribution as well, but they face additional risks such as violence, blackmail, and stronger social stigma. Current policies rely heavily on harsh criminalization, but this creates long-term problems. And we could see, and in the scope of the Solid One project, we studied this topic a lot, meticulously about long-term effects of prison population. Of course, we literally postpone solving of this problem. And of course, by adding new problems like reintegration after prison. What is really needed are gender-sensitive and youth-focused approaches that combine prevention, social support, and protection from violence, trauma-oriented approaches. In prison, it's a big honor for me that our professor, Heine Stover, wrote this chapter, adding some valuable insights from a European perspective, considering NPS emergence. In many European prisons, new NPS such as synthetic cannabinoids, often called spice, are widely available. And people in prison turn to these substances because they are cheaper, harder to detect in routine drug tests, and offer an escape from boredom and daily routine. So he mentioned in his chapter that in England and Wales alone, NPS use was linked to 79 prison deaths, including 56 suicide. Unfortunately, we don't have access to such kind of information in our prison. but I think it's a universal tendency. Some prisons provide counseling, social work, substitution therapy, and leisure activities to reduce this risk. And the key lesson is that punishment alone does not work. What really helps is supportive social work, meaningful activities, and harm reduction services. So chemsex and LGBTQ communities in Central Asia, it's really important information considering poor studies in this direction, and considering that in PS patterned sexual life, and we could see not only chemsex phenomenon but also sexualized use when we speaking about heterosexual people. Chemsex refer to the use of substances such as methadone, alpha PHP, methamphetamine, GHB, GBL in sexual settings. Please, could you mute your microphones? Usually among gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men. In Central Asia, there is still very little research on this issue, but we could see that stimulants and cannabis use is widespread among these communities. Several powerful drivers explain this phenomenon. First of all, is minority stress, discrimination, patriarchal traditions, and the local uyat culture of the shame. So dating apps make access to both partners and drugs easier, which increases scale of these chemsex practices. So consequences are really serious. We face now HIV, sexual transmitted infection rise. They are hidden and undressed like drug use, and severe mental health challenges are linked to stigma and isolation. At the same time, community organizations often struggle to reach these groups, and support services remain very limited. What is needed is to comprehensive response, harm reduction program adapted to these communities, equal access to PrEP, RT, support for NGOs that work with this kind of population, and campaigns to reduce stigma and discrimination. What a link to the SOLID project of this book. First of all, it's a research foundation. This book leverages data and insight from the SOLID project, providing in-depth look at NPS trends and challenges locally in our region. We have shared goals of harm reduction and prevention. Both the book and the SOLID project advocates for evidence-based harm reduction. We emphasize prevention strategies that should be tailored to unique regional needs. So we express our need for guidance for policymakers that substantiated by evidence-based information. SOLID project frameworks inform this book recommendation, guiding policymakers in our countries to create effective responses to NPS issues. We need to focus on cross-border collaboration. One more time, I underline this fact, this notion. The book echoes SOLID emphasis on international partnership, recognizing the need for coordinated approach across our region and China to combat NPS proliferation. So we need to support our healthcare and social services by building on SOLID initiatives, and the book served as a comprehensive resource for professional. And today we have our first talk about this problem, and bringing together not only students but also professionals with experience in the field. What are our future steps considering social works? First of all, we need to expand research in the context of social work. And today, having this experience in studying PS topic for more than 10 years, I have to underline and must underline that we need more information about social context of NPS use to tailor our strategies, not only clinical strategy, but mostly social support, care, and long-term building long-term resistance in our country. We need to study the role of social work in addressing NPS impact to develop evidence-based, community-focused policies. We need to strengthen international community collaboration to promote partnership among Central Asia countries, and that's great that we now have solid phase two project. We need to enhance community-based social service, to invest in social work and harm reduction programs to meet these unique needs of our patient, of people with life experience. We need to develop social work-oriented treatment protocols. And it's really important because we regularly enhance our protocols. We are trying to find new recommendation worldwide, but mostly we live beyond the scope social impact and social initiatives, social intervention, because social workers, they possess a package of different and various tools, really interesting, supportive, effective. So we need to introduce all these tools to our clinical protocols. We need to increase public awareness through social work, because social workers are those who possess with special expertise and experience how to articulate, how to speak with community, not the doctors, not clinicians, but social workers, and not only psychologists, but mostly social workers, launch this community centers campaign led by social workers to educate the public on NPS risk and prevention. And finally, it's my honor to present in faces all my co-authors. It's a really great, brilliant team, and that was a 1-year experience of our collaboration with these dedicated people with their persistence, with their brilliant minds. Thank you, each of them. It's a big honor for me to work with them on this book. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mariya. Your presentation,
you.
your book is wow.
Thank you.
Just exploded in my brain. Yes, so if I right understand, we have another presentation. So, and I want to mention that we have 38 participants. So congratulations. And dear guests, dear participants, I have honor to introduce our next speaker, but today we have brilliant professional speakers. And the second one is Alexey Lachov, who has more than 15 years of experience in the area of HIV and AIDS, viral hepatitis, substance use, and harm reduction. His work experience include being the development director of the largest Russian harm reduction organization, Humanitarian Action, executive director of the European Network of People Who Use Drugs, NGO Europe delegate to the program coordinating board of UNAIDS, WHO, and UNODC consultant. Alexey has participated in numerous research initiatives for peer-reviewed journals on new psychoactive substances and online harm reduction. He has authored a web outreach manual for the UNODC program office in Eastern Europe. Alexey, good afternoon or good morning, I don't know.
It's afternoon, yes. Thank you, Nadezhda. Thank you for such introduction. And many thanks to Mariya and to the whole Solid team for inviting me and my colleague, Nikolai Ungurian, the Russian-based narcologist who has helped me to author this chapter on web outreach, and who has also been tirelessly consulting people online as an online-based narcologist. So I hope that you will be able to keep in touch with him, with me, and maybe we will be able to continue our fruitful work. But again, I would like to congratulate Mariya with this undertaking. It was a massive one. And it took a lot of time, but in my humble opinion, the result is brilliant. And I hope that not only professionals and social workers from Central Asia or China will be able to refer to this work, but also specialists from the neighboring countries and maybe even from other parts of the world, because this problem is really relevant, and we have seen in the UNODC reports that there is a rise in the use of synthetic psychostimulants. Also, in some parts of the world, there is a continued proliferation of the synthetic cannabinoids, and being on, and it seems like our region, I mean Eastern Europe and Central Asia, is on the forefront of these trends. And yeah, I think that our experience, I'm pretty sure, in it actually is valuable, and it should be utilized more. So thank you again for inviting us today and for trying to disseminate this information further. In terms of the work that we have done on the chapter, it's related to the so-called web outreach or online outreach, as it is sometimes called, for people who use drugs. Its relevance has already been underscored by Mariya, because we know and we have seen it in our countries that the purchase and sale of drugs in many countries are increasingly carried out through different websites, including darknet marketplaces, for example, forums, social networks, instant messengers. So when the new technology comes up, it seems like people who use drugs and who sell drugs are trying to utilize it to their needs and to their benefits, actually. Because we have seen that, especially people who use drugs, they utilize these online platforms to communicate with each other, and especially it's especially relevant for us because they are communicating about issues that are related to maintaining their health, including mental health, including some issues with overdoses, with the so-called overrunning from stimulant use, and some other matters. I hope that you hear me well. If you experience some issues, just tell me, and I will switch to another microphone.
Everything's
If not,
good. Great, Alexey.
okay.
No, it's okay.
Then okay, thank you. Then I will continue. And for us, as the harm reductionists, as service providers, as social workers, in some cases, these trends open up opportunities to do this outreach and implement harm reduction interventions online. Because at the end of the day, the so-called traditional outreach, basically it means that we should be where our beneficiaries are. If they are gathering in the streets, in the apartments, in clubs, or in some other places, we should be there. If they are gathering online, we should be there as well. So this is where this idea of online outreach came about, and this is just basically the usual outreach, but done in the online space. I will touch upon a little bit about the situation with substance use in St. Petersburg, my native city. And I think that it's interesting because Russia is the elephant in the room, so to speak, in the region. And actually, a lot of trends that we have seen in Russia, they have started to appear in the neighboring countries as well. And not only, for example, in Kyrgyzstan or Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan, but also, for example, in such neighboring countries as Estonia, as Lithuania, as Latvia. So it's like something is spreading from there, and we should be able to see these trends. And what we have seen is the steady increase in new psychoactive substances use since 2015 at least, and the most popular NPS are methadone, of course, alpha PVP, MDPV, to a lesser extent synthetic cannabinoids. Also, the so-called synthetic street methadone. It has pushed out heroin long ago. And an interesting thing is that, for example, in Norway, they have noticed just recently the appearance of this methadone in crystals. So we see how it's maybe going across the borders into a more wealthy and more protected countries. And in terms of the selling and buying drugs, it's mainly done via darknet, via Telegram Messenger, but some other messengers were utilized. And I think it's also a feature of our region that this drug selling is mainly done through the so-called dead drops, or zakladki, as they are called in Russian. And another interesting thing is that we have already seen it in China, in South Korea, and even in some European countries as well. So, you know, what has been the predominant way of buying and selling drugs in our region for the last, I don't know, 10 years, probably, it has already started appearing in some markets as well. And it's an interesting trend that we should be mindful of it as well. This is how it looks like for those who haven't seen it yet. These small packages of drugs, you know, being put everywhere, basically. And then you just receive the GPS coordinates and pick up your stash. An interesting thing about darknet marketplaces is that, according to the research, it's from the December of 2023, but actually not a lot has changed since then. You can see that 5 Russian darknet marketplaces dominated the global darknet landscape in terms of drug selling. And they accounted for 93% of all incoming volume to darknet markets. And they amassed approximately $1.5 billion in revenue. And all Western darknet markets combined, they had just a 5% market share and totaled about $80 million. And this is interesting because we have already seen that this big Russian, the so-called Russian, of course, nobody knows where these administrators are based in practice. It's just that their main market is Russia. They have already started searching for the so-called chemists, suppliers, wholesalers, operators in the neighboring countries, including Kazakhstan, for example. And it shows that apparently there has been a kind of a market saturation in Russia, and probably they are now expanding to the neighboring regions as well. And this is basically how the big darknet marketplace operations look like. So we have a store owner, we have chemists, we have suppliers, we have wholesalers, we have carriers, couriers, and we have operators who are coordinating all this process. So this is basically, this is how the usual marketplaces are operating, such as Amazon or Wildberries or Ozone, you know, but just in terms of the darknet drug trade, this is how the things look like now. And yeah, as I have already mentioned, this web outreach or online outreach, basically this is a method for contacting, counseling, engaging, and retaining people who use drugs and harm reduction programs and other services through different online tools. These tools can be really different. It's like websites, instant messengers, social media platforms, specialized forums, smartphone apps, email lists, chatbots, Zoom, Skype. So, for example, we have seen how one darknet marketplace was conducting regular Zoom calls for their beneficiaries on some harm reduction advice. And yeah, it could be easily utilized by our programs as well. And in terms of the potential goals of web outreach works, again, it really depends on the goals that every program sets before itself. So it could be like stimulating open talk about sexuality, for example, or about decreasing stigma, or raising awareness about different infectious diseases, or increasing knowledge of our target group on some specific issues, or even increasing the amount of clients of a harm reduction program. And unfortunately, this is the main goal that many programs set before their staff. I am talking about it this way because, you know, it takes a lot of time, and we have seen it by working in Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, for example, that people in these countries tend to trust online outreach workers less than in Russia, for example. I don't know, maybe it's like some cultural differences, you know, maybe it's due to different levels of police brutality or police surveillance in these countries. So this is something that could be explored, and, you know, this is, I think, an interesting topic for a potential research. But again, even in Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, this is the countries that I have been working with as well. We still saw how people are reacting, how people are engaging online, and how people can be de-virtualized, meaning that they could come to our brick and mortar harm reduction programs to take their blood tests and receive syringes, for example. And in terms of the web outreach tasks, it could be, again, establishing contact with people who use drugs, informing them, counseling them, linking them to the related services such as AIDS centers or harm reduction programs or something else, or the narcological centers, for example. It could be a collection and analysis of field data, and I still feel that this is a hugely underutilized field. And we have seen so many interesting trends, you know, that demand for some targeted analysis. But again, due to the scarcity of resources, due to the fact that law enforcement agencies are not that inclined towards allowing such things to happen. Fortunately, we are still lagging behind in terms of collecting this data. And another task could be the retention of people who use drugs in our harm reduction programs and other services. Just several quick examples of how this work could be done. This is a Telegram bot on overdoses that we launched around 5 years ago. Since then, it has had around 20,000 subscribers, but of course you can't know for sure because sometimes this information is being updated by the engine itself. And but this is a really useful way to get connected with a narcologist, for example, to check up the symptoms of an overdoses and to receive information on how to perform CPR, for example, or even what medications could be used to try to revive a person until an ambulance arrives. We are trying to update this bot constantly with different medications, you know, with trying to do it as user-friendly as possible. Yeah, but again, nobody is perfect. Sometimes there are bugs that need to be fixed. Yeah, but we are trying to keep fingers on the pulse. Another underutilized web outreach area of work, in my opinion, is dark web outreach. For example, I've been a darknet peer counselor or a web outreach worker myself for over 4 years, and including at the largest Russian marketplace, Hydra, that existed from 2015 to 2022. And I had several threads there on HIV testing, on viral hepatitis prevention and treatment. And it was quite popular, so people asked questions and received advice from me, from our doctors. So, for example, some people were asking whether it's okay if if I'm moderately using methadone once a month, and whether it could damage my liver with hepatitis C. And I've been referring to some studies done on mice, that studied how methadone impacts your liver, your heart, your heart. Again, people were really trying to engage, so they were really interested in this advice. And I think it's also really important to be there. Again, even in spite of the fact that a lot of modern marketplaces, they have already been providing tons of useful harm reduction advice themselves. Again, some of them are still open to inviting people from outside, so to speak, to harm reduction workers. But again, I think that this is a hugely underutilized area of work. Again, due to a scarcity of funding and due to the fact that in some countries of our region, such work could be deemed a drug propaganda, unfortunately, rather than the promotion of health and life-saving measures. An interesting aspect is an emoji language that is being used all over the regions in different countries, how people utilize these signs, these emojis in order to get in touch with each other and to talk with each other about drugs, about the effects of drugs. I think it also deserves some specialized studies, especially in different contexts and in different languages, how it is used, and how different emojis could have different meanings in different markets. Again, just an idea, but maybe someone would like to undertake such research someday. Yeah, and to continue, to conclude, I would like to mention that in the updated consolidated guidelines on HIV treatment and care for key populations by WHO that were dated in 2022. So we already have the new edition, the virtual interventions that mention specifically that online delivery of HIV virus and STI services to key populations may be offered as an additional option while ensuring that data security and confidentiality are protected. These are hugely important topics, about data security, about confidentiality, because this is what actually prevents our beneficiaries from trusting us, in the first place, even in the online spaces. This is why it's really important to protect them. But again, it's important that WHO has noticed it, that UNODC has been paying attention to it. And I hope that this practice will continue, and that more and more harm reduction programs and other service providers, not only in our region, but in other countries as well, will utilize this web outreach work and will get in touch with the key populations. I think that's it from me. Thank you very much. And some useful resources, but it's just scratching the surface. Nowadays, there are so many useful links, articles, and other unique stuff. So if you want me to share it with you, please reach out, and I will be happy to provide you different ideas and links. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Alexei.
very much.
Yes, Ula, do we have any time?
Yes, so this is our first meeting. We are still experimenting with time. So I think both of the presentations were so interesting that it would be really good to have some time for question and answers. And for those of us who have to leave now, of course, if you cannot stay with us longer, then this is also possible. But let us open the floor for question and answers. And it's great that you can moderate this, Nadezhda.
So there is no questions in our conference chart, but maybe we can discuss about a couple weeks ago. I was in for me, very interesting conference, international conference of ISAP for Asian national chapters. So countries like Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, and it was only one country from Central Asia, Kazakhstan. And for us, it was really interesting to see trends in South Asia countries, for example, about chemsex. Our colleagues from Vietnam, they're really interesting in maybe collaboration research in the field of NPS using for chemsex. So I think we must contact with them. And in Indonesia also interested because of cultural and maybe some trends in their touristic areas. So this is why NPS and chemsex is very common in that countries. So I see the raising hand from Ingo.
Yes, I already put this question also in the chat, because I would wondering, or I have the idea or the question. In European countries, we do have also drug checking models, especially for using as harm reduction measures in the party scene and in clubs, and it's spreading now. Also in Germany, it's allowed now to have these kinds of methods. What is about this kind of drug checking methods and in your countries? Can you give a short overview on this?
Thank you, Dr. Inga, for this question. It's really a critical point for Kazakhstan, and I suppose in all Central Asia countries, the same situation. Our NGOs initiate this discussion on within the framework of different working groups, round tables, where Ministry of Internal Affairs presents their ideas. Unfortunately, our Ministry of Internal Affairs are really against this, because for this reason we need to change absolutely our legal framework, and we need to introduce something like even for research practice we don't have, even not only for harm reduction, even for research. And I understand whenever I want to find something and to maybe discuss this information, it could be incriminated against me after that, because I know even information could be interpreted as propaganda or something like this. And unfortunately, no, because for methamphetamine study, I discuss these future steps, and our Minister of Internal Affairs said no. We took a way of strict policy making, and in parallel, by introducing something like harm reduction procedures, it will be a double barrel policy, and we would like to be more focused on penalties and punishment, not for drug testing. But we have good seizures by police officers, and amount of seized materials, they're huge, really. Last week, I have been to Aktau, West Kazakhstan, Caspian region, and there I have discussion with forensic chemist, and she said that, for example, a biological sample to compared to raw materials seized. Raw materials are really rich, and we could retract this information and can assess these analyses, because we have already synthetic opioids in Kazakhstan already. First reports, we have ketamine, we have reemergence of opioids, and this information we have thanks to seized materials by law enforcement. We could take advantages from this. I suppose the same situation in other Central Asia countries, the same. Yes, Alex.
But by the way, it was my experience in Germany as well when I worked in the Ministry of Health, and I started with propaganda for drug checking methods, and like in Austria or in Netherlands or in Switzerland, they told me, no, 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 we don't want it. This is propaganda for using these substances, and it cost many, many, many years. And finally, now we implemented this kinds of methods, but it's still in the starting phase, and because it's also very expensive to have this using this method. So, yeah.
Now I would like to add about experience of Ukraine and Georgia. I heard about drug checking in these countries, but unfortunately, in Georgia, since maybe end of last year or beginning of this year, this political situation dramatically changed, and right now, harm reduction services, including OST, which I'm interested in, they're not prohibited, but faced with many obstacles and their political decisions. They move OST sites or harm reduction services from NGO to maybe rural area or far from beneficiaries. So, of course, harm reduction and other activities and services depends on political decisions. Dear colleagues, participants, do you have any questions for our speakers, or maybe you want to express your opinion? Please raise your hand or just start talking, start ask.
Thank you so much. I think, yeah, if there are no further questions, I would like to make an announcement. So I'm really happy about this first meeting of the Solid Talks. Thank you, Mariya, and thank you, Alexei. Those were two really great presentations, and I think we are both happy, all happy that they will also be made available online on our website. And let me let me announce that in 2 weeks we have the next Solid Talks meeting, and Jacqueline Shadimanova from Bishkek will then present her book about the work of NGOs in the drug field. I think this will be also very complementary to this week's session, as we have seen that NGOs play an important role in web outreach, as we have seen, but also in harm reduction programs. And before we stop for today, I would like to invite you to indeed have a group photo. Yeah, if it's possible for you, please switch on your camera, and we will make a photo, and then yeah, this can be also a nice memory. And yeah, the recording of today's session will be made available, so for all of you to have a look. And Alexei and Mariya, if you would like to, you can also send me your PowerPoint presentation, so that might be nice for participants to have a look at the resources that you shared. Thank you very much for this. And yeah, this will not be the last time, I hope, that we are here together. So thanks a lot for joining today. And I see a lot of people switching on their cameras. Yeah, so here we are. I make some photos. I see that some of you are outside, some of you are in the offices. It was really nice to meet you today. Some of you I met for the first time, others I've seen already before. Thanks a lot, and see you back again in 2 weeks. And I'm happy for I'm happy for comments, and also this is an important point. If you have an idea for a topic that you would like to discuss in the framework of Solid Talks, or you would like to present something, this is also for you, Alexei, then yeah, feel free to reach out. We would like to continue this series of talks with different topics. And yeah, thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Everybody.
Thank you,
Bye.
Nadezhda. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Maria, Alexei, Ula,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kasia, Ingo,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.